Okay, by my watch, it's 11:30. Thank you for joining the Thursday routine weekly briefing. We're going to be covering the period January 18th through January 24th of 2024. Before we look in the future, we're going to look at the past and see what kind of impacts we had in terms of our drought and rainfall. As has been the case for the last several weeks, we continue to be in this wet pattern. If you look on the right-hand side here, here's our 7-day observed rainfall in inches, and you can see there's a very nice axis of heavy rainfall that basically went through the central part of the state, where rainfall averaged about 2 to 3 inches, mainly focused across the triangle. And as you got closer to the coast, as we get near Cumberland and Sampson, we saw some lesser amounts, about a ½ inch to an inch. And then on the left, you can see in terms of how wet that is. I mean, you're looking at 200 to 300% of normal wetness and just observed in that 7-day period. So, you know, we're definitely in that El Nino wet pattern. And so what that means in terms of the drought is that we've really beaten it down. It's pretty much over. We have some lingering effects across extreme western portions, the North Carolina mountains into the foothills. And so we'll continue, at least we'll try to continue to see improving conditions as we continue into the rest of January. Looking at the upcoming weather pattern, not pictured here is first, we have a system coming through tonight. And it's going to overspread some light precipitation. A few days ago, it looked like, you know, we could have maybe some freezing rain, and those chances have certainly decreased. And I'll show some more on that later. But that will basically move through tonight and largely be out of here by daybreak tomorrow. And then the big weather story here, the big hazards and the big impact is going to be with this Arctic high that's centered over the central U.S., and that's going to build eastward and it's going to become centered. And when I talk about an Arctic high, you can see the strength of this high. It's a 1040 high, and whenever you see anything above 1030, we call that strong. So this is 1040. This is well past that, and so we're going to see very cold air, bitterly cold air. That's going to overspread our area this weekend, and I'll show you more on that as well. As that cold air comes in behind our rain tonight, we're going to have very windy and blustery conditions, gusts 25 to 35 miles an hour, and those winds are going to set up the real cold and the really bitter wind chills that will be coldest over the weekend. And then the high, as we get in the early part of next week, you can see here on the top right, it's centered over North Carolina, so it'll still be chilly. But once that high starts to push offshore, we're going to see a nice warm up, and so we're going to see a return to above normal temperatures as we get into the middle part of the next week. Here, what we're going to show here, this is our what we call our simulated precipitation, and we're going to look at the precip type, and we're going to look at the timing as the precip comes in this evening and tonight. It's mostly coming in after midnight, and the greens, as you see here depicted, you know, that is basically falling as all rain. And when you start seeing some of the other colors, the blues, you start seeing the pinks, you know, that is our winter P type. And as you can see, for the most part, all of that is staying to our north and to our northwest. And so again, the forecast is really trended warmer, expecting all rain, and precip amounts are expected to be really light. Okay. As we look at our cold over the weekend, here's our 2 coldest nights. Here are our wind chills. So you can see on Friday night, when you factor in the cold air temperature with the wind, you know, we're looking at single digits, both Friday night and Saturday night. Looks like for the most part, I mean, they're pretty close. So you really can't pick one night being colder than the other. Just depends on where you live. But, you know, we probably see 3 or 4 nights in a season where we have these single digits. And so right now we're looking at some impacts so far this winter, the coldest temperatures being this weekend. Now, this graphic here, we're going to real quick put this in motion, and this is going to be roller coaster ride in terms of our temperatures. And you can see this is looping really fast. But what I wanted to show is how you can see all the blues this weekend, but then as we get into Monday, but especially Tuesday, you start seeing the green and the yellow, so implying warming. And as we're looking at, as this continues to loop back, I want to go over some winter safety. Remember, what you want to do is you want to stay indoors as much as possible during the most extreme cold. So that's going to be basically as soon as that sun sets in the evening and through the probably 10 o'clock the next morning. Try to limit your exposure outdoors. If you're going to be traveling, you want to keep a winter survival kit because you never know when you're going to break down. Maybe have some extra layers in there of clothing. You want to check the tire pressure. You want to check your pipes. You want to wrap those pipes in exposed faucets. You want to wrap those up. And really important here is you want to check on the elderly, and you want to bring those pets inside. Okay. Again, we get this about 2 or 3 times in the season, and so this is one of those periods where if you know of some elderly, especially those that live alone, so it's a good time to check on them. Okay, so again, we're looking at basically starting Friday night into Monday morning is our exposure to the coldest temperatures. Looking at our 7-day rainfall, again, we'll have a little bit today and tonight, and then we won't see our next chance of rain coming here until like Tuesday night into Wednesday. And by that time, we're going to be warming up well into the 50s and 60s. So that's going to be all rain. But overall, over the next 7 days, we're just generally looking at some QPF of about less than 1/4 of an inch. No severe thunderstorms or even thunderstorm threat over the next 7 days. And of course, due to the light rainfall and QPF, we're not expecting any excessive rain risk. For people that are not a fan of the cold, as we look into the week 2 period, man, you see a big blob of red. So, we got above normal temperatures. It looks like a really strong signal there in the week 2 period. So if you're a fan of some 60-degree temperatures, maybe even some 70s, you're going to really basically that last week of January, you might be pretty happy in about 2 weeks. So. And as we look at the rain chances, we're still looking at a wet pattern, and so we still have an above normal chance for precipitation as we close the month of January out. We'll just fast forward there and we'll get to this. So I won't go over the weather summary, but as we look here on the hazards and impacts, you can see that most of this is related to the cold air coming in. And so we have the breezy and the windy conditions coming in on Friday. As the cold air pours in, we're looking at, pretty frequent gusts of 25 to 35 miles an hour. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 40-mile-per-hour gust or 2 across the area. This is flagging fire weather, and that's because we're going to have the windy conditions. And as that cold air comes in and a very dry air, we're going to have some low RHs. But due to the wetness of the soils, it shouldn't be any problems in terms of fire weather, other than it being very minor. And then looking at the threat for the excessive cold, basically Friday through Sunday, as we get into those single digits Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings.